Alright, Scout Emma Numeu Ultezola Uneprte. It's my pleasure to welcome you back to another Learn Natfi quarantine lesson stream. Hope everybody's doing well, hope everybody's staying safe, more importantly, and not going a bit crazy having to stay inside. But it's my job to make it a little bit more enjoyable by teaching you some things about the Natfi language. So now is your opportunity. If you would like to participate and ask questions verbally, you can join the Noonsing, the voice chat on the Learn Natfi Discord for whatever reason. If you are not already on the Discord, which I believe anybody watching this probably is, you can join using the link in the bottom left corner of the screen here. So, but today our topic is going to be a topic that is very intimidating to a lot of new learners, and I'm going to try to break it down and make it as simple as I possibly can. And that is, what are the F words and how do you use them? So, we like this little play on words. In Natfi, the F words are not a bad thing at all. Basically, what they are is a transitional word that allows a phrase to be a subject, an object, a topic, or a recipient of a verb in a sentence. So what we've been talking about so far when we're talking about the Natfi language, we've been talking about noun cases and how each of the noun cases is a slot that can be used with a certain type of verb. We talked about in the last stream how with transitive verbs you can use all 5 of the available noun cases, while with intransitive verbs you can only use 3 of the available noun cases. And each of those is what we would consider a slot for a noun to go in with a verb. So if you look at this, the way that this made sense to me, and this may not make sense to you, but I'm going to visualize it so that hopefully it's a little bit easier to understand, is it's a lot like variables in programming or in math, where the variable represents something else, a larger idea, and then we're going to specify what that larger idea is in the following, or in the way that the word interacts with the rest of the phrase. So if we have our verb, we've been talking about it in the Discord a lot today, so I'll use it. Taron, which is to hunt. Okay. This is a transitive verb. You're going to expect to have a subject, and you're going to expect usually to have an object, something that's being hunted. So somebody that's doing the hunting and somebody that's being hunted. Each of these is what we would call one of these variable spots. And the F words can fit into one of those variable spots in order to give us more context about what's happening. Okay? So let's see. Let's talk about what they are and how they're constructed first, and then we can get into how to use them, all right? So if you have been with us for a little bit, in one of our lessons we talked about the attributive particle a, which goes on the front or back end of adjectives and allows them to modify a noun. Well, our F words are going to take this a and they're going to use it as the actual particle. So how they're constructed, we use the word fi'u, which is the Natfi word for this, specific to inanimate objects, as we were just talking about in the Discord today. And it adds the attributive particle as its own standalone letter or word. It's a particle, so it's not technically a word, it doesn't actually have a meaning, it's just indicating something. So what you've got then is fi'u'a is the base form of our F words. Okay? The fi'u is the noun in this instance, which means it's going to be taking all of the case endings that we're going to use to transform this into the different variables that go with our verb. So if it's the subject, you're going to have fi'u, and then you're going to have fi'u'a. If it's the object, you're going to have fi'u'a, T optional, if it's the recipient, you're going to have fi'ur. And if it's the topic, you're going to have fi'uri. Okay? So these are the basic, we call them F words. This is their base forms. When we use them in a sentence, though, and in colloquial speech, we condense them down. They have contractions that we use, so that they're just one word, and that one word serves the purpose of these two words. So those are foi, fula, futa, fura, which we just got a couple of days ago, and furia. And those are our 5 F words. So what exactly do they mean? Let's talk about that. Fi'u'a, most basic sentence here. You'll notice it has, or most basic form of these, it has no case endings, which means you're only going to find this in a situation where something would be taking the subject of an intransitive verb. So subject of an intransitive verb. That is the only place you will ever see this contraction, right here, is in the subject of an intransitive verb. Or a predicative or copular verb. So really briefly here, stand by. Lu, our be verb, am is be, is what we call a copular verb. Neither noun that is on either side of lu takes a case ending, because it can be a equator, and so it's possible to see foi with lu where it's not the subject of an intransitive verb. So that's an exception. Since I said it, I needed to correct myself, and there you go. Moving on. Fi'ul'a or fula, you're going to see this as the subject of a transitive verb, and that is where you will always see this. So always is the subject of a transitive verb. Okay? You will never see that any other place. Fi'ul'a or fura, you're going to see that as the object of a transitive verb, and that's the only place you will see that. Fi'ur'a or fura, you're going to see that as the recipient or indirect object of a transitive or intransitive verb. So this can be both. I, D, O, B, J, V. I'm just going to write V for verb because it's both. Okay? And fi'uri'a or furia, you're going to see that as the topic of a transitive or intransitive verb. O-P-I-C of verb. Okay? Understanding where you're going to see these in a sentence is also going to help you understand where to use them in a sentence. So, let's take a look at a use case for one of these. I'm going to leave this up here for just a moment. I'm going to check the Discord chat to make sure I'm not missing anything, and then we will move on to a use case for these. Excellent. So, F words in a sentence. Just before I started this stream, Yaya introduced a sentence that I think can help illustrate this perfectly, because we can look at it two different ways. Okay? Which is the idea that the beast that I hunted eats me. So what we're seeing here, let's write this sentence out in English, okay? The beast that I hunted eats me. Okay? What we're seeing here is we have a phrase that is giving more information to our subject of our sentence. Okay? So the beast eats me is our base sentence here. There is no need to add anything else to that. Okay? But what we're doing is we're adding more information to clarify what this beast is. Okay? And that's where this that I hunted comes into play. So what this looks like in Nafi is we're going to use the attributive particle a in order to translate or to ascribe this phrase to our noun, the beast. Okay, and I realize now I'm not starting with the F words. I'm starting with showing you how the phrase attribution works, but that's okay because we'll get there in a second with the F words. So, Ilan. And it's the subject of our sentence, so it's going to take the subject ending il. Iwang il hunted. Okay? This basic form, I hunted, done action. The reason why this is not taking a case ending is because there's an element of redundancy, but this is already the subject of our other sentence. Essentially, there doesn't need to be an object of this verb in order for you to understand that this is what was being hunted because of our attributive particle. So because this is doing its job here, in order to convey this information back to our beast, a simple I hunted is enough information. There are cases where you do have to carry the case endings across an but I'm not going to get into those today because they're a little bit more complex. Anyways, moving on to the rest of our sentence, we have, I'm going to write it down here, yom, which is our verb for eat, and weti. So, Yuangil doloron oe yom weti is our sentence, and it means the beast that I hunted eats me. We can flip this back. No, I'm not going to. I was going to say, depending on what you want to emphasize, you could say I hunted the beast that eats me. You could put this part in the subordinate clause, but there's no real need to do that for this example. So this is just showing you how the attributive particle a translates the added information back to our noun, yuan, beast. Are there any questions about this before I move on to showing you the F words? I want to make sure that this is very clear because this is the core to how attributive phrases work and how the F words work. It is the same principle as with adjectives. The A is an arrow that's pointing and connecting these two ideas. to do... let's do this one. I know that you're a good student. That's a good one. The no verb is a really easy one to use the F words with. So, I know that you are a good student. Okay? Our verb to know, omum. So, ol, well, omum. And here is our subordinate clause, okay? I know something, okay? What is it that I know? I know that you're a good student, okay? So what we need to indicate as our subordinate clause is this part right here. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to use our F word for our transitive objects, okay? And that is futa. Okay? Remembering that this is from fi'u. So our attributive particle is in there. It's pointing this way. Meaning anything that comes after this is going to be ascribed back to this object slot. So, that you are a good student. Nga. Numeu. Asilsan. Went way over there on the side of the board, but that's okay. You get the idea. So, welomum futa nga numeu asilsan this is our subordinate clause. Okay? What happens if you wanted to flip this around? I hear somebody asking. Well, the good news is you can, but there are no contractions for it. If we wanted to put our subordinate clause first in our sentence for whatever reason, sometimes there are use cases for doing that, you're going to write it this way. You'll have the subordinate clause first. Nga, numeu, asilsan, lu. And then we're going to still use fi'u and a. Actually, we're still going to use fi'u and a. But we're going to flip them, okay? And I'll explain why in just a second. So, a, fi'u. Okay. Subordinate clause. A fi'u. Well, the reason why we flip the A is because just like with adjectives, the A needs to find itself between the noun that it is modifying and the word or phrase that is modifying that noun. So, because our subordinate clause is on this side of this word, or fi'u, the A needs to be on this side. And then vice versa on the other side. One last way you could technically do this, you could technically take this entire block right here and move it in front of your welomu. As long as futa comes first, that also works. But it can be a little bit misleading for new learners who are translating ideas and are looking for a clear break in where your clauses end. Okay? So just keep that in mind. It's not there. Not V prefers subject, object, verb order. Yes. necessary. So just keep that in mind. So tying this back into our initial concept, omum is a transitive verb, which means you're going to expect a subject and an object blank. Well is fitting our subject blank, and fitu is fitting our object blank, and then we are modifying that with everything else that comes after. Okay? And that everything else that comes after, rather than being an adjective, is just a phrase. All right. We are basically through the F words. Here's what I would like. I'm going to start writing some stuff on the board. I'm going to write some more contractions for this idea of a noun plus a, because as we have it for this, we also have contractions for that. We have a word for that thing. This being a little bit more proximal, that being a little bit more distant. And we also have ways of when a question is the subordinate clause, there's a way of indicating that as well. So I'm just going to write those words out just for reference, while I give you an opportunity to write or ask me any questions that you may have in the voice chat. So carry on with that, and I will check back in as soon as I have written all of the words that I need to write up here on the board. Okay, these are the 4 words that come from the Tsa'u version, okay? Tsa'u being that thing. So Tsa, Tsal, Tsa, or Sari. And it's the same case here. This is subject of an intransitive verb, subject of a transitive verb, object of a transitive verb, topic of a transitive or intransitive verb. And then well, you know what? I was originally going to, but I'm thinking better of it because it is a much more advanced concept and we haven't even covered questions yet. So I'm not going to go over the one for questions. We will cover that in a future stream. So for now, I think that's everything that we need to learn with the F word. So let's move into a little bit of a practice session. I would love to see what you guys can do when it comes to translating the following idea. I would like you to create a sentence. I'm going to give you a sentence. I'd like you to translate it into not V. Let's do the sentence. I that you can hunt. That you hunt. Let's just do that. I believe that you hunt. That should be simple enough using all of the information that I've given you so far in all of these lessons. You can either type this in the Twitch chat or on the Discord. I would love to see what you guys can come up with. So I believe that you hunt. Give that your best shot, and we will check our answers up here in just a minute. If you need vocab, spow is believe, and taro is hunt. Pop around to the side. It's been a quiet stream today. Go for it, Curse. If anything, you can give us the correct answer from the chat. I'd be absolutely okay with that. As you like, my friend, as you like. No worries, Victory. What is this one? Yes, this one is I believe that you hunt. Nice and simple. All right, we got our first attempt from the chat, and it's an excellent attempt. Short of one typo, which I would assume is a typo, or it's really difficult to read that W. No worries. So, what we've got in the chat, and we can talk about this, is, well, spał, ngaci, futa, nga, taro. So there's one word in this sentence that doesn't belong. And if that word is removed, the sentence is correct. Let's see if we can figure out what it is based on the original English. So I believe you can hunt, or you hunt, sorry, not you can't. We haven't talked about mode verbs. I believe that you hunt. So who believes, and then what do they believe? And then so let's break it up into those two things. Yeah, that's exactly what it's saying. So it's saying, I believe you that you hunt. So we've got you in here twice, and we have a double object on our verb, which isn't allowed. We can only have one noun in each of those slots. So I think you figured it out. If we take this out, we've got our sentence. Well, spel från gnataro is our sentence meaning, I believe that you hunt. Very nice. See, you got this, even though you were just listening in the background. Let's try another one, shall we? Let's go. Okay. Another one we see F words with a lot is strat, which means to bother or annoy. And the reason why I chose this one is because a lot of times we see the subject F word with strat because the thing that's bothering somebody is the thing that's being expanded upon. So let's see. What is something that can bother us? Let's see. Let's see. Being at home bothers me, or annoys me. Being at home annoys me. That was relevant to what's going on. If you're like me, starting to get a little bit cabin fever-y during the quarantine and all of this. So let's do being at home. At home bothers me. And this is verb transitive for third. So, being at home bothers me. Vocab that you're going to need to know. Tok is be at a place. That's transitive. Kelku is home. Okay. And then we have our verb up there. Just before doing this lesson today, I went for a hike with my wife because we are very tired of sitting around in our house and doing nothing. And also coming up here and doing these things, because obviously I'm not at home right now, is a good way for me to get out of the house as well, so that I'm not just stuck in our house, which I do like. I like our house, but it's small and very dark, and so we don't have a lot of sunlight that gets to where we're living, which can be a shame. All right. Anybody got a stab at this one? We're looking for a not-fee translation for being at home bothers me. still give people a chance to try to solve this one on their own in the live stream. So, bothers me. Strat. Wetty. Okay. So we have our object, is this guy right here. We're missing our subject, the thing that is doing the bothering. And so in our subject, we're going to need our phrase being at home. Essentially what this is going to translate to in NotV is that I am at home bothers me. And what that's going to look like is, oh, somebody, my other half went AFK. My ears, because nobody has joined the voice chat. There we go. So, being at home, that I am at home bothers me. We can do this two ways, remember. We can go fula up front. Well, do calcuti. That works. Or we can do it with the fi'ul down here. Either one of those is sufficient to conveying the idea that being at home bothers me. Okay. So here is our subject, and then here's the descriptor of our subject, or vice versa. Here's our subject and the descriptor of our subject. Yeah, that's a good one. Adds in some of the mood of NotV verbs. Strangat. Cool. One last practice, because I want to flip this one on its head. Rather than bothering or annoying, I want to have something that... Can you drop well there? Let's see. Stratweti. I think reasonably you could drop well there. One thing that we haven't talked about in these introductory lessons is when you can and cannot drop. Well, the fact that you can drop words at all. So I will enter this in as an aside right now that in NotV you can drop words that are understood from context. Completely remove them from the sentence as long as the markings are still existing. And so what Yana is suggesting is that because we're trying to convey the idea that I am bothered that I have to be at home, since you've got yourself as the subject of both clauses, you should be able to drop it in the subordinate clause as long as you keep your object case ending on calcul, which would be fine. That is absolutely okay. But for where we're at in these lessons, I would prefer to see everything listed out. So, as we were, I'm going to flip the metaphor on its head here, and rather than being bothered by something, what I would like is to see a sentence that says something that's pleasing to you. And this one doesn't, I'm not going to give you what it needs to be. This is something I want to hear directly from you. What is something that's pleasing to you? Our NotV verb for be pleasing is sunu. And sunu is a intransitive verb, okay? So we're going to have to use the subject of an intransitive verb, F word, in order to convey the thing that is pleasing to you. So if you're doing just a simple noun, you won't need that. But so try to think a little bit more outside the box. Something that you do, an activity that you do, something that requires a verb. These are going to be clear indications that you need to use an F word because you are conveying more than just a simple noun as the subject of your primary verb in your sentence. So something that is pleasing to you. Let's see it. something for me, teaching Natfi is pleasing to me. I enjoy teaching Natfi. And I could say that using sunu. Hey, all right, that's a good one. I'm gonna write that one up here. We can go over it in just a second. Sunu weru. Weru fa wen. Se fa oti mo. Alright, so when se fa oti mo. Interestingly enough, this would have been an excellent opportunity for me to, well, even with, Anna, you can correct me if I am wrong here, but I don't think we need both of these because we have our conjunction. We have two independent clauses on either side. And so without having to strike context, because essentially what this is doing is creating a compound subject. Which is possible. But I think it is easily understood because it's a predicate, or sorry, because it's a subordinate clause. I think it's understood as being a compound rather than compound subject. So, but essentially, what Ayana suggested that is pleasing to her is drawing. We have Wayne, which is I admittedly am a little bit loose on that verb, but I'm pretty sure that's Wayne, is drawing, and creating something. So, creating something and drawing and creating something are pleasing to me, is what her sentence says. So, just to visualize what I was talking about and having an internal debate with myself over, is we have a dual subject here, because we have two things that are pleasing in this instance, which are drawing and creating something. But because in Natfi we're dealing with this entire thing right here being our subordinate clause and the subject of our verb, I'm going to go ahead and say it. You don't need to double up the F word here. The conjunction in the middle indicating that those two things are the thing that is pleasing is sufficient. So we go. All right, that is a good one. Let's go. Sunu weru fa numetere Natfi. Okay. Sunu weru fa numetere Natfi. Okay. I'm not going to nitpick it, even though I could. This sentence, in a very English manner, says, learning about Natvi is pleasing to me. About Natvi is pleasing to me. There are more colloquial ways of saying this. There are constructions that I would use sooner than I would use this construction, but this sentence is grammatically correct, and therefore it is a good sentence. Well done, Victor. All right. Well, I believe that is going to wrap things up for today's session. This has been a long one. We've been going for almost an hour now. I hope you guys learned something today. I hope now, after seeing them in action, that the F words are a little bit less scary. They are incredibly useful. The longer that you speak Natvi, the more that you're going to need to use them in your sentences in order to convey the ideas that you're hoping to communicate. And so getting into them and diving into them as soon as possible will help you in the long run when it comes to advancing past just an introductory, basic level of sentences and stock phrases. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to shoot me a private message or join us on the Learn Natvi Discord, the link to which is in the bottom left corner of the screen down there. I'm going to wrap this up for today. I will see you all next Saturday with another lesson. Heilovai ute Zivo.